1969 war epic Battle of Britain is a sprawling dramatization of one of the most pivotal moments in World War II. Directed by Guy Hamilton, who was already well known for his work on several James Bond films, the movie attempts to faithfully recreate the high-stakes aerial campaign waged in the summer and autumn of 1940. As one of the few major films to tackle the aerial war in such scale and detail, Battle of Britain set a new benchmark for authenticity and spectacle. This is the story of the film itself, its background, plot, characters, the historical reality it depicts, and its cinematic legacy. The film opens during a critical turning point in World War II. France has fallen. Much of Western Europe is under Nazi control. Britain stands alone, vulnerable, and exposed. Hitler now plans Operation Sea Lion, the proposed invasion of the British Isles. But before that can happen, the German Luftwaffe must destroy Britain's Royal Air Force. Only with air superiority can Germany hope to cross the English Channel and bring the war to British soil. The stakes are high. The film captures this sense of looming disaster right from the beginning, focusing on the political and military leadership on both sides. It shows the Germans planning a knockout blow and the British scrambling to prepare. The audience is quickly introduced to a diverse array of characters, both British and German, though there is no single main protagonist. Instead, the film functions like a historical panorama, emphasizing the large scale of the conflict over individual heroism. Unlike traditional war films, Battle of Britain avoids fictionalized character arcs and melodrama. There's no love story subplot or band of brothers camaraderie. The narrative is told through a series of loosely connected episodes that collectively illustrate the progression of the air campaign from July through October 1940. The film begins with diplomatic scenes, the Spanish ambassador delivering messages from Hitler to Britain, trying to negotiate a peace. These scenes show that, before launching an invasion, Hitler preferred to have Britain surrender diplomatically. However, the British refuse, making war inevitable. From there, the film switches focus to the military side of the story. British airfields and radar stations are hurriedly constructed and staffed. Fighter Command, under Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding and Air Vice Marshal Keith Park, prepares for the defense. At the same time, the Luftwaffe gears up with massed formations of bombers and fighters, led by Field Marshal Albert Kesselring and General Hugo Sperl. The rest of the movie is essentially a depiction of the phases of the actual battle. Early attacks focus on radar sites and channel convoys. Then, German bombers turn their attention to RAF airfields and infrastructure, nearly crippling the British defensive network. The film shows the mounting pressure on RAF pilots, the relentless fatigue, the shortage of replacement aircraft and trained men, and the rising number of casualties. At a critical point, the Luftwaffe changes strategy, shifting its bombing raids from airfields to civilian targets, most notably London. This gives the RAF a much-needed reprieve and allows them to rebuild and hit back hard. The final act of the movie shows the tide turning as the RAF delivers heavy losses to the Luftwaffe and proves it can hold the skies. The film ends with the German High Command calling off the invasion indefinitely, effectively acknowledging that the Luftwaffe has failed in its mission. The film boasts a remarkable ensemble cast, featuring some of the biggest British and European stars of the 1960s. Laurence Olivier plays Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding, the commander of RAF Fighter Command. Olivier brings a calm, analytical presence to the role, representing the quiet but firm leadership style that helped Britain prevail. Trevor Howard portrays Air Vice Marshal Keith Park, commander of 11 Group, the sector most heavily involved in the battle. His performance conveys the strain and pressure of defending southern England under relentless attack. Patrick Wymark plays Air Vice Marshal Trafford Leigh-Mallory, a more aggressive and controversial figure. Michael Caine plays Squadron Leader Canfield, one of the few fictionalized characters, representing the rank-and-file pilots doing the actual fighting. His performance is brief but memorable. Robert Shaw, Christopher Plummer, and Susanna York round out the main British cast. Plummer plays Squadron Leader Harvey and is given a subplot involving his estranged wife, played by York. This is one of the film's few emotional through lines, but even it is subdued and secondary to the broader military narrative. On the German side, actors like Kurt Jürgens and Karl Otto Alberti portray senior Luftwaffe commanders. The German characters are shown speaking in German, an unusual move for war films of the time, and they are not demonized. Instead, the film presents them as competent, professional soldiers, albeit on the wrong side of history. One of the most striking aspects of Battle of Britain is its commitment to historical accuracy, especially in terms of aircraft. The producers went to great lengths to obtain authentic Spitfires, Hurricanes, and German aircraft, like the Messerschmitt Bf 109. Of course, not all the planes were original, many were Spanish-built versions or modified trainers, but the visual realism was unmatched for its time. Dogfights were filmed in the air, not through models or CGI, which didn't exist yet. Aerial cinematographer John Jordan, who tragically died during the shoot, helped design the system of camera aircraft used to capture dynamic and realistic air battles. The result is a visual spectacle. The audience is often placed right in the cockpit, giving a visceral sense of speed, danger, and chaos. The film also makes good use of real locations and wartime architecture, with many of the airfields and operations rooms matching their historical counterparts. Uniforms, dialogue, and battle strategies reflect the actual records from 1940, adding to the sense of immersion. While Battle of Britain sticks close to history, it does take some dramatic liberties for clarity and pacing. Certain characters are composites or fictional, designed to represent broader roles rather than real individuals. Some battles are condensed and timelines compressed, but these changes serve to keep the narrative focused. One notable inaccuracy is the simplified depiction of the Luftwaffe's failure. In reality, the reasons Germany lost the battle were complex, involving poor intelligence, overconfidence, and strategic missteps. The film largely attributes the German failure to the decision to bomb London instead of airfields, which was indeed significant but not the sole cause. The film also avoids depicting American pilots who flew with the RAF before Pearl Harbor, though their involvement was limited during the time frame shown. Despite these small changes, the movie remains one of the most faithful World War II films ever made. The central theme of Battle of Britain is endurance in the face of overwhelming odds. The RAF is vastly outnumbered, short on supplies, and politically isolated. Yet through determination, strategy, and luck, they manage to survive and even win. The film emphasizes the importance of leadership, not just at the top, but throughout the chain of command. It highlights how calm, methodical decision-making can be more effective than flashy heroics. Another recurring theme is the human cost of war. Though the film doesn't dwell on personal stories, it shows pilots being killed with brutal regularity. The audience sees empty bunks, grieving comrades, and the relentless pressure that drives men to the edge. The film also makes a point of showing the contribution of foreign pilots, including Poles and Czechs, who fled occupied Europe to join the fight. Their efforts are briefly but respectfully acknowledged. When Battle of Britain was released in 1969, it received mixed reviews. Critics praised the aerial photography and scale, but criticized the film's cold, dispassionate tone. Some felt the lack of a central character made it hard to connect emotionally. Others noted the absence of dramatic tension, since the outcome of the battle is well known. However, over time, the film gained a loyal following, especially among history buffs and aviation enthusiasts. Its commitment to accuracy and realism has earned it a respected place among war films. In many ways, it laid the groundwork for later historical epics like Tora, and Dunkirk. Today, Battle of Britain is often used in educational settings and shown on television during historical anniversaries. It remains one of the few films to depict an aerial campaign at this level of detail, and it does so without resorting to Hollywood cliches. The making of the film was almost as intense as the story it told. The production was enormous, involving hundreds of cast and crew, international cooperation, and some risky flying stunts. John Jordan, the aerial cinematographer, lost his life when he was struck by a propeller during filming, a grim reminder of the dangers involved in capturing realism. There were also budget problems. The film cost over $14 million, making it one of the most expensive British films of its time. Though it did well at the box office in Europe, it struggled in the United States, where audiences were less familiar with the historical background. Battle of Britain is a rare film. It's not about glory or personal transformation, it's about collective resilience and strategic survival. It doesn't glamorize war but shows it as a brutal contest of attrition, where victory often comes down to stamina, planning, and timing. For aviation fans, the film remains a masterpiece of flight cinematography. For historians, it offers a fairly accurate visual reconstruction of a turning point in modern history. For general audiences, it may feel cold or slow-paced, but for those who understand what was at stake in 1940, it's a powerful tribute to the pilots who kept Britain free. Whether you're watching it for the dogfights, the leadership lessons, or the sheer spectacle, Battle of Britain is one of the most important war films ever made. Not because it dramatizes heroism, but because it dares to depict history as it really happened.